I respond to this ad that's like, hey, we need a bass player. So I'm like, sweet, man. I love playing bass. Like, I'm just trying to get, you know, some accountability, have some people around me to kind of, get me to practice a little more regularly and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And the guys are really cool. He's like, yeah, like Metallica, and we're a rock band. We're not going to be necessarily heavy or anything, but we've got some really good contacts, and we used to gig regionally. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's basically like, we want to do about 10 songs of our own, and then we'll have Indianapolis, Nashville, and Louisville as kind of like a circuit that they've already got contacts in. So I'm like, cool with me, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's just across the bridge in southern Indiana. And I go over there. I mean, the first meeting was awesome, but they're all older than me by a pretty good amount. And
You don't say.
it turns out the drummer and the lead guitarist had played together before in like a heavy band.
Okay.
And the lead guitarist developed Parkinson's disease.
Whoa.
So yeah, it was heavy. Like they kind of adjourned the session with this, and like it got really awkward at the end.
It's a different type
So
of
then
heavy.
they had to move him to drums to kind of, that's a little less precise. Although like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to judge this guy or anything, but like, you have Parkinson's disease, bro. Like, there's no way this is gonna work out. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
So anyway,
It's so bad. I should not laugh. We should not laugh.
I know. I feel terrible saying that with those words coming out of my mouth. But I mean, it's the truth,
Hey, it is what it is. Trump said it is what it is.
I had a great time up until, it got really weird at the last few minutes. Anyway, a few weeks go by. We're working on a few songs. We've got 3 songs down that are pretty solid. Like a folksy rock jam band kind of sound almost.
Yeah.
And things start to look like, hey, we're getting there. Like, let's get a little bit more serious about this. And the whole premise initially was like, this is just for fun. Like, let's meet up and have a good time, relieve some stress, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, things start getting a little more tense, especially coming from the guy who is now playing lead guitar. And the guy who's singing is playing rhythm guitar, and he's an older guy. He's really overweight and is really like, you could tell he's battling some internal demons. And this is kind of like an outlet for him. Super nice guy. Like, me and this dude really, really got along well. Side note, they told me that this was before I had my bass amp. So they were like, dude, we've got all the equipment for you. You can even use our bass. I was like, I'm going to bring my own bass, but if you got an amp I can use, fantastic. I would love that. I'm not trying to drop, whatever it costs, hundreds of dollars, thousands on an amp.
Yeah, it's BYOB there.
That's a sidebar that'll come back here in a second. So we're going through and we're trying to make we've got 5 songs at this point. We're trying to get songs, up to 10. And I can tell that it's just pushing the lead singer a little bit too hard to just, because there's no organization to it at all. And I'm like, hey, can we write down the chord changes or something? So we have something transcribed. I'm no pro at transcribing music, but at least write G, A, C, or whatever it is for however many bars. And they're totally against that. So we're trying to make up these songs on the fly. And the lead singer guy starts having a breakdown. He's like, you guys, I'm so sorry. I can't keep a tune tonight, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, don't worry about it, dude. We're just having a good time. We're drinking a little whiskey, just jamming out. The lead guitarist is getting pissed off about it. He's like, we need to have these effing songs down. Blah, blah, blah. If we can't get this down, we're not going anywhere. I'm like, dude, I thought this was just for fun anyway. So we kind of hit an impasse about 2 hours into practice. And I'm like, hey, guys, look, let's take it back to song number 1. That's our best one. Everybody knows it. We'll end on a good note. We'll listen back to the practice, and, we'll get the show on the road. I'm going to button this up. My shirt looks hella wrinkly. been hanging up. What is that about? So we go for this song, and the lead singer is struggling. And halfway through, the lead guitarist rips his cord out of the amp. You know the sound that makes, the really like crazy.
Oh yeah.
This is ridiculous. How do you not have this down by now? Blah, 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 blah. Like yelling at this poor guy who is already clearly having a breakdown. And I'm just like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, I didn't say anything at the time. I was silent. I was like completely struck. Like, holy crap, what is going on right now? Like, that just took a real turn.
Yeah.
And then he turns to me and he's like, when the hell are you getting an amp? I'm like, dog, I thought you said I could use the one that we have here. Like, you have a perfectly good amp. Like, where does that come from?
Wow,
so
we were.
He starts going in on me, dude. And then the drummer starts, throwing in a little bit of this and that here and there. But it just like completely blows up one night. And like, I just felt so bad for the singer guy. Like, he's crying at this point. This dude's still yelling at him like he's like David Lee Roth or something like that. I'm like, dude, you're just some random guy who you're a nobody. Why are you yelling at this poor guy? So yeah, so that ended up being my last time practicing or having any kind of contact with those dudes. Thank goodness. It was just it was a fun experience. And it's always good to get out and play with different people, but it was wild, man. So I've got this, my profile on Band Mix was still up. I never took it down. I just forgot about it. So a couple weeks ago, these guys hit me up who are actually in Louisville. They're like, hey man, we need a lead singer. I'm like, okay. Like, I like singing. I'm more
heard
of a
about
bassist.
Your last band.
Yeah, like I'm more of a bassist. I've never really sang like. Anyway, he's like, it's all good, man. We kind of share the same, taste in music. We're really low key. We don't drink or smoke or do anything during practice. I'm like, okay, I'm in for that because I'm an organized person. You can tell I kind of have some pet peeves. So like if somebody shows up to practice and is hammered and wasting everybody's time, like that really gets under my skin.
Rock and roll, baby.
I know, right? So I'm excited, but I'm also, hesitant because my last experience was trash.
Yeah.
These guys are older, but they're not like, the oldest guy is 47. So he's like 15 years older than me. And then the other two guys are in between, like one's in his late 30s and one's 42. So I'm just going to try to have fun with it. We'll see where it goes or what happens. But yeah, I've got an audition tomorrow for a lead singer spot.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to be in a band. I'm going to be lead singer. Hey, there we go.
A little Star Wars action for you.
Little Star Wars.
But yeah, so I know we had a good plan. We had kind of talked about how we wanted to kick things off.
Yeah.
I had a really fiery rant dialed up. I've had a few days to kind of calm down and cool my jets. So I'm going to take a little bit of different approach than I had planned, but I definitely still have a couple of things that I want to talk about just to kind of lead in. I just finished this book today on Audible called How to Think Like a Roman Emperor. It's basically a book in almost like a biography of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. And it's talking about events in his life and then applying the principles of Stoic philosophy and how he applied them to these crazy things in his life. And it has been a huge, huge help for me, especially during, coronavirus with all the uncertainty and the crazy times. So where I was super fired up, I've kind of gotten some wisdom here to wisdom. That's funny. That's the number one virtue. They talk about the four virtues. Like there's four main virtues that break down into subcategories. The main thing, they define wisdom loosely as the ability to determine what you can and what you can't control. Mm-hmm. And then to just focus your efforts more so on things that are within your control. Because if you're sitting here, kind of like we talked about the other day, with like the government and stuff, like it's no use getting all fired up about the government when, I mean, you can vote, and that's a certain level of participation, but you can't, at the end of the day, control everything that they're going to do. So there's no sense of just getting caught up in it 24/7 and, getting fired up all about that. So I've been trying to take some of the wisdom from, the Stoics and apply it towards my life. And it's been a big help for me. But just for everybody, to kind of understand what's going on and how I got to this point. I had been working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car for 3 years, and things were going really well. Started at the bottom, in the management training program, dedicated, coming to work every day, 60 plus hours a week. And they were great about rewarding hard work. So thankfully I got promoted pretty quickly. I ended up getting 4 promotions in under 3 years. And right at 2.5 years, I got 4 promotions.
Ooh.
My last one, I got promoted from a branch manager spot up to our corporate office here in Louisville. And I was living in Lexington at the time. It was a promotion into a new division that's brand new to this part of the country. It was a sales position that all of Kentucky is my territory, as well as Southern Indiana. So I was hoping that maybe I could stay in Lexington, and they weren't having that. They forced me to move up to Louisville, which I never really completely understood. I mean, I get it to a degree, but Lexington was my biggest sales market because we had a big deal with the public transport in Lexington. So I was driving to Lexington 3 or 4 times a week anyway after I moved up here.
Ooh.
But, I got pretty salty. Once coronavirus hit, my division got wiped out. Because essentially I was selling people on the idea of carpooling to work and using our vehicles so that, if they get in a wreck, we take care of everything. If they need an oil change, it's on the house, and they just pay a monthly fee for a big vehicle. Everybody rides together to work and home from work. A lot more complicated than that, but that's just kind of the 100-foot view from the top. So of course, coronavirus and social distancing, it's the worst idea at the time. Like, who's going to want to carpool when you're supposed to be social distance?
Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, I completely understand why the division, they're not going to pump a lot of money into keeping someone just focused on that. And I was, helping them move cars around and kind of filling in at the remaining branches that we did have. And I made the first round of cuts and the second round. And eventually, I got furloughed for about a week, and then eventually got completely laid off. So as you can imagine, I was pretty fired up about that. They made me move up here to Louisville less than a year ago. And now here I am without the job that brought me here in a much more expensive city. Someplace that, my family is pretty, nobody that I know lives up here within my family or anything like that. So it was pretty rough. And to exacerbate the situation, the unemployment scenario is just an absolute joke.
Yeah.
So what do I mean?
I still can't get over it. It makes no sense to me, and especially how close Ohio is to Kentucky. How can Ohio be doing that much of a better job than Kentucky? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And Ohio is much bigger. Like, it has so many more people, so many more major cities. Like, I just don't get it. You would think it would be the opposite. In the state that has less cities, less people would be more on top of what's going on, because a higher population would be much harder to manage. But it's not the case at all. Jeez, man. Yeah.
So yeah, just for everybody to know, I know we've talked about it. When I was laid off by Enterprise, they said, hey, we're going to support your case for unemployment. Obviously, the government is pumping all this money into the program. So, you should be good. we got your back, basically. So I wanted to see, if anybody else out there, let us know if you've had issues or if you've had success with the program, or kind of what your thoughts are. I'll show you a little bit of my story here, and then let Juan let you get into yours. So I applied in May and applied in April, got approved in May. And you'll see here, since May, my claim has been under investigation. Why? I have absolutely no idea. I've tried to call them to see if maybe I filled something in incorrectly, just wasn't going through the process the right way. No idea. So there's an automated voice system basically that says, hey, we're experiencing a high call volume right now. We've got your number saved. Your spot in the queue is saved, and we will reach back out to you as soon as we can. And they've been giving me a robocall with that same message twice a week since May. So you can see here, weekly benefit amount. I was approved for $552 per week, and that's not including the $600 plus up. However, every 2 weeks I go on there to request the payment, request the funds. You can see I requested it earlier this week. Last benefit amount, $0. So I have no idea what is going on with that. I've got a couple of theories. It's most likely that it's just incompetence. But I've also had in the past identity fraud against me. Someone opened up a credit card in my name and maxed it out.
Oh, that's juicy. Yeah. I didn't know that.
You didn't know? Yeah, somebody I used to live with, I guess they were still getting mail and probably just went through my mail and got all my info. I found out about it through a credit report and was like, wait, Capital One, I don't have a credit card. So maybe some shenanigans on the back end. Maybe just government is being incompetent. I have no idea. I haven't been able to talk to anybody. Then it's not like they send you an email that's like, hey, your account's under investigation. We'll let you know what happens. It's just been like that since May. And you can see here where it says next eligibility review date. Going into this week, that was September 4th. They bumped it back to the 18th earlier this week. So I have no idea what's going on with that. So as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was pretty fired up about that. I have been. Thank goodness that we've been saving money, though. So we've been able to keep the lights on, and we've got rent taken care of for next month and everything. And it all kind of worked out. Interestingly, I was able to get involved with Code Louisville. So I initially wanted to study computer science. But I ended up going to business school, recruited for football. So it was a really good business program, and I kind of couldn't pass up on that. But programming has always been something in the back of my mind I want to get into. The Code Louisville program is a free class to teach people how to program. When we first moved up here, they had lost their funding, so they were just offering it as a class through Bellarmine. But thank goodness in the spring, they got their grant back so they could offer it for free again. So the timing on that really worked out well. Literally the month after I got laid off, the week after, as a matter of fact, the first week of May, I started with my Code Louisville classes. So just wrapped that up. So I'm, been applying for jobs like crazy. So I'm just trying to stay more focused on those things that I can control and, not really let that kind of crazy stuff that's out of my control ruin my state of mind. And it's very easy to let yourself slip into that, cyclical thinking process of, oh, woe is me. Oh, I feel sorry for myself. This, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, absolutely, man. So it's been an interesting year for sure. I'd love to hear what you guys think, successes you've had through this year. Is your story kind of like mine? What have you been doing to kind of cope with the stress over all of this year? And I know you, working in the entertainment industry.
Oh, yeah.
been crazy hard hit. So I'd love to hear kind of a little bit about what you've experienced this year and, what's been going on there.
Yeah, it's it's been crazy. It's been absolute. It's been total chaos, really, because especially how everything went down. I guess just like the timeline of everything. So, I was working that gig in South Padre Island for spring break. Okay.
Right. So you were there for a whole month.
I was there. I was in South Padre Island for a whole month, working spring break, and
that was that April or that was May or March, I should say.
It was the last week of February is when I arrived, and that was going to be all the way until the end of March, until we caught that flight to Vegas to go to the bachelor party. I was literally going to be leaving the island to go to Vegas for the bachelor party, and that's a whole other story. But dual bachelor party, what a time that was. Oh man, the stuff I had planned was ridiculous.
And looking back, it would have been a tri-bachelor party with Steve getting married too.
There you go. Ultimately. There you go. Yeah.
Wasn't
3 for 1. 3 for 1. Yeah. So that gig in itself, that South Padre Island gig, was wild. I mean, at first I got offered the hospitality manager position, but then I was never officially given it. Okay. And then I interviewed, just like we're doing now over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it was. And then, I was told by the people who interviewed me that I pretty much got it, and then they just had to wait for one final word. And then I hear back a week later that, yeah, we want you, but whoever was the former owner of the company has got one of their buddies coming through.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, to take the position. Yeah, right. And at that point, I had already rounded up 5 people who worked for me. For the company that I work for, so we travel around and do festivals and everything like that. So, and they don't really allow anyone to do that, which was already that was a big deal to me because I had been to the island before. I'd worked in a different capacity down there. We actually threw shows and threw events and brought kids down ourselves and stuff. So this one, I was just going to be more of an employee and just kind of have a good time. Honestly, I just wanted to get out of the cold, And so when they broke the news, they were like, look, we're terribly sorry. We didn't mean to get your hopes up. Would you still like the gig just to go down there and just to work, And I'm like, absolutely, absolutely. I want to go down there and get paid to throw events that are on the scale of the events that I throw. They're day one type events. They're very basic events because you don't need much to please, an 18 to 23-year-old on spring break. You got a couple tables, you got some solo cups, you got some booze, you're good to go. I mean, it really doesn't take much. So anyway, we get down there and the guy that has the hospitality manager position, such a great guy. I mean, this is a guy that I'll probably be friends with this guy forever. He's a solid guy, right? He's obviously a very cerebral guy. Okay, very smart guy. Okay.
I feel like there's a butt coming here.
Well, I mean, he can tell you. He and I have talked about this plenty of times. He wasn't in the right state of mind to come down in that atmosphere. That atmosphere is nuts. It is chaotic. It is, I mean, you got to think, every week shuffles in a whole another group of students, and we're not talking about a couple hundred people. We're talking about thousands and thousands of students that are going on spring break. Some of which this is their first spring break. Some of which this is their last and final spring break, and they're just going all out. No matter what, all these kids are pushing themselves to the limit every single day for a week straight, and it just starts all back over again the next week. week
Just
after week.
rinse and repeat. You got a whole new group of
Exactly.
people in there every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's
So
crazy.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you're ready for it, if you're prepared, which I mean, I've been doing stuff for so long that I was I was prepared. It's nothing new to me, to see all that. It's still fun. It can still get a little stressful, but if you're used to dealing with that type of stuff like I am, it's not a big deal. It was more fun and enjoyable for me. Um, but he just wasn't ready at that time, where he came from, like his mental state. And
What was his
kind of
background?
um not events, not entertainment. let's just say that. Yeah, it was not entertainment, it was not events. Nothing that has to deal with what we were dealing with. He had done something similar in the past. I think that he had been down there like a decade prior to, you know, and had worked it, and I'm pretty sure he had attended plenty down there. So it's not like he didn't know the island. It's not like he didn't know how things should operate. It's not like he wasn't capable of doing it. He came in a little late because of some personal things, and then he just wasn't in the right state of mind. You have to be in the right state of mind to come into that atmosphere and be able to maintain focus. And
Yeah, you got to be
your
present. You can't have half your mind somewhere else.
Exactly. So if I would have come down there in that mental state, I don't know if I could have been able to pull it off. So anybody, it doesn't really matter. You have to be in a certain place to be able to come down there and perform successfully.
Right.
And keep the end goal in mind. Because it's so easy to get wrapped up. I mean, that is a toxic atmosphere. I mean, entertainment in general, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And you throw in there spring break, and the weather was phenomenal every single day and night. I mean, phenomenal, and every place has a drink special. You can drink on the beach as long as there's no glass. Like,
I love drinking on the beach.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on just about that place. I mean, that's why I was there for 60 days this year. I'm thinking about going back again. I mean, I absolutely love that place. Yeah, seriously.
So how long were you scheduled to be down there initially?
32 days, I think.
So you had planned on flying straight from Padre to Vegas to meet up with us.
Yeah, and I was actually going to leave like a day early, I think.
So kind of walk me through what happened there. Like, did the flight did you already know? Like, yeah, just tell us what happened.
Yeah, so that I guess is like what's crazy. And that it kicked off how nuts this has been as a whole, right? So because we were on the island, we weren't affected. Like, and I lost a few friends because, I could tell that we weren't going to be affected. Like, we're literally on an island, we're away from everything. Obviously, then we didn't know how severe it was going to be. We didn't know people were actually going to die. We didn't know it was going to be that intense. So a lot of my posts on social media, were like of these massive crowds, these thousands and thousands of kids having a great time, letting loose. And I'm just sitting there like, what virus? It's a lot of my captions are just like, what virus? Like, Corona what? Like, come on. Like, we're on an island. Like, we're not affected. Like, you guys on the mainland, right? You guys are going nuts over here. You're going nuts, like, just wash your hands, wear a mask, chill out, and just don't be disgusting, And so I lost quite a few friends. They were very critical they were criticizing me a lot about how I was posting and what I was doing and the amount of people that I was around, and, which, whatever, it is what it is. But
you couldn't have predicted something like that was going to happen.
Of course not. Yeah. And at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is what it is. People will get over it in a month, and I just hope that my first gig in April, that is a massive gig, with my company is still intact, and then after that, whatever, you know.
Yeah, because I know springtime and summertime is huge for your industry. April, there's all May, there's always really big festivals. I know I had a ton of concerts I was planning on going to this year that got canceled.
Oh
So I
yeah,
can't even imagine how crazily that impacted your life.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, from March until October this year, we had major events, and then we were working on the X Games, you know, in the wintertime. We were working at a couple of cool events that were just going to be really unique. Like there was an NHL game at Air Force Academy, their football field. They do an outdoor
Oh yeah,
NHL
yeah,
game. Yeah,
yeah. That's my Shafe. He's a big Penguins fan, so
yeah,
he used to watch that all like every year. That's a cool event.
yeah. So we were on that. You know, we were on a lot of like really unique events that were going to keep us on the road and things like that. But just to jump back, yeah, like
So you were supposed to be
so
there for 30 days, and
yes,
then you were gonna fly out to Vegas. But so did the flight get canceled? And then, like, what was your plan after Vegas? Like, what happened there?
yeah. So you know, it was kind of nuts because I was on a booze cruise. Okay, so we're literally just cruising around the Gulf of Mexico. It's like 100 kids, people going nuts, and I
Oh my
start getting
goodness.
I start getting calls and texts about like the possibility, you know, like from like the higher ups that we may have to cancel spring break on like the last week of spring break. And so it was our third week into spring break, but we were already into the week. So it's silly to just cancel the whole week because you've already got all these people on the island. They're already on the island, right? So you might as well go through, let the businesses try to make their money. You've already got the kids there, try to make it, as much money as you can, send them off, hope that no one on the island at that time has anything, but no one up to that point did. No one after the point had it. So we were the last spring break destination in the country to still be going and operating. And while we were going at 100% capacity, everyone else was completely shutting down. We saw the end, was coming, but finally, we did. I believe I got the news at like 1:30 in the morning, and the next day we were basically told we had like 24 hours to vacate our houses that we were living in, which was really, really shitty. A lot of my staff was not happy about that at all. And it
Is this
was,
still in March at this point?
yes, this
Okay.
was, so we're like going into the final week of spring break. So the
Okay.
fourth week of March, and we get the word, and I have to tell everyone, I have to tell all my staff, hey guys, spring break's over with. Coronavirus is taking over. They're not going to allow anyone else onto the island. No more students. Everyone I'm sure got their money back. And that's it. Like spring break's over. And
Ugh.
and all of the artists to that point were canceling too, which was total bullshit, to be honest. I mean, Shaq, I could understand. DJ Diesel, right? I could understand Shaq because he's Shaq. He's got Shaq money, right? But like, come on, like Sada Baby and like Da Baby and Meg The Stallion and Sweetie, I think was another one. Like all these artists are sitting there canceling. It's like you all are like screwing your own selves, and you're not living up to a contract. I mean, I know every contract I've ever had, I've never once had an artist flake on me. Even artists as big as like Migos, where in some places Migos are kind of like notorious for just not showing up. I never once was scared that they weren't going to show up. Never once did I ever question an artist not showing up to my show.
I mean, I don't know, man. By that time, though, like stuff was blowing up so bad. I mean, you said it yourself. You were taking a lot of heat. Like they've got a brand to protect too, so you can imagine that the media would probably, you know, crush them if they're out there still encouraging
Yeah,
people to get in these big gatherings and things. So, I mean, if you're going to differentiate Shaq, I mean, I don't understand why that would be different than anybody else. You know what I mean?
just because Shaq is like Shaq doesn't even need to DJ. He just does it for fun. All these other artists, like that's their career, and they're all young artists, so this is the beginning of their career. So it's like, why would you potentially lose fans when at the end of the day there was going to be thousands of kids in the audience regardless?
Is this people
And there
just
was.
canceling for that last week or for like all of March?
It was like so week one, the artists did show up. There were no issues whatsoever. Waka, which Waka's always there. He's like a legend on the island. He had a really good show. He had a pool show. A Boogie, he showed, and there were a few other artists that showed. I think week one and week two, but like middle of week two and all of week three, not one artist showed.
Dang.
All of them canceled. Every single one of them.
So what'd y'all do?
I mean, kids still came out. You know, kids it's spring break. It's like they still showed up to all these venues. There was just a DJ instead of an artist.
End of the day, that's I mean, still pretty close to the same experience, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I mean, if I'm a kid on spring break, and what really sucks is, say there are, you know, speaking to the kid that goes on spring break who doesn't really like spring break, but is going because he knows that some of his favorite artists are going to perform that week, and he gets to go to spring break with his friends. That sucks. That sucks for that kid. That really sucks for that kid. You know, like that probably would have been me. I mean, I back then I liked partying overall, but I would have been super hyped, and what would have sold me to go on a spring break would have been, you know, this artist is going to be there. I would be like, okay, I'm in, 100%. You know, so that really sucks for that kid. But anyway, yeah. So we were the last one in the country. Get the call. It's frantic. You know, everyone's disappointed, obviously, and we didn't have much time at all to really like even like consider more than 2 or 3 Airbnb options. And there were only a couple of us. It was myself and the sales manager, because this is after I became hospitality manager, which was nuts.
Through the course of the month, you ended up taking over?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I mean, the guy that had the position, great guy, love him to death. But it just wasn't working. And there was already some talk in the background that kind of got to me, that they were already just considering me since I was the number one person up for consideration to begin with. So I kind of thought that, okay, like if this guy does end up just, you know, not working out, then they're probably going to ask me. But at that time, I was still just in like employee mode, you know, just hospitality guy, like, hey, you know, let's take some shots, let's have a good time, spring break, you know. And it actually happened at one of the events at night. They had shot me a couple texts throughout the day, like the 2 like main guys, just kind of flirting with the idea with me. And I'm like, I mean, you know, I don't know, I guess. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. You know, I've already got like some people down here that work for me. I've already built a good rapport with all the staff. So, and I know their struggles firsthand now, right? So that was an interesting aspect of it as well. I know what everyone's going through because I'm going through the same thing that they're going through. So that definitely helped me. But yeah, he just kind of came up as I was talking to the 2 main guys. It was really a scene out of a movie. I'm sitting there talking to them, and they're like telling me like what they're considering. They're like, you know, this is happening and this is happening. You know, what would you say if, you know, we were to offer you this position? You know, like, are you up for it? And like before I could even answer, he just kind of comes up out of nowhere. He's just like, guys, listen, sorry to interrupt, but like, I can't do it. I can't handle it. Like, I'm just not in the right place. Things aren't working well. Like, things are just, I just can't. I can't, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to abandon you guys, but like, I'm done. I quit.
Do you think he just wasn't cut out for it? Maybe he had personal issues. Was it like virus related at all?
No, I just think again that it's so hard to describe, but that is it can be the most toxic atmosphere that's around if you allow it to be. You
Oh yeah,
know?
I hate being around drunk people these days. Like I can't do it. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine, 18 to 23 year olds who were just, like I said, pushing their bodies to the limit on spring break, acting the most outrageous that they could possibly act.
Meanwhile, you
And
got all this national pressure building up about the virus as well, so you just got kind of a perfect storm going on there.
yeah, and you're trying to round up a staff that is from all over the country, and you know they weren't the strongest staff, like at all. Because you got to think. I mean, just think about entertainment in general. So many people work in entertainment for so many different reasons. So when
Hmm.
you get a spring break staff together, and if you don't know them personally and know what they're cut out to be, anyone can sell you over a FaceTime on what they can do, right?
Right.
Or what they should do. But then you get down there and they're in that atmosphere, and all of a sudden, if you're a guy, you've got all those girls down there,
The
and a
drinks
lot of,
start flowing, the
oh
music
my God,
starts pumping.
yeah, the music's in the air. Yeah. And on top of that, a lot of the times during the day, if we don't have an event, you've got 6 or 8 hours to yourself. Where
That's
if
dangerous.
yeah, if you're not working during the day, if you're not promoting or marketing or doing those things like that during the day, and you have an event that night that you have to work, technically you could get up at like 7 a.m., go super hard until 7 p.m. on the beach all day, going to all these day concerts, these day events, these sponsored parties. You could go super hard, crash, and wake up and still have like a 2 hour power nap and still be at your event and at work that night.
Oh my goodness.
Technically, So, I never did that. I never saw the beach once when I was down there,
What?
because I was working, and I mean it was soon when I took over, it was pretty soon. It didn't
Okay,
take
so you had
long
to
for
put
that.
your big boy pants on real quick. I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah. Like the house I was living in, I had like all my people like from Ohio and stuff, and
How many
they
people
would.
were staying with you at that point?
There was five of us. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there was five total. There was four plus me, but we did have a house. It was very nice, very very
Nice.
nice. Yeah. Um, but like I was working on the schedule at home, and everyone else was at the beach during the day. And it's just one of those sacrifices. Not a big deal. Not a big deal to me. But it's just one of those things. It's like it's what you got to do. Hey, welcome to the show. I mean, if you really want to play, if you really want to be a big dog, that's what happens. You can look outside and see 85-degree weather, and you're on an island, and it's beautiful out. You hear music in the air. You hear, just straight partying going on. Everyone having a fantastic time. Meanwhile, I'm inside and I'm staring at my computer screen and I'm trying to figure out who best fits in this schedule and how to use everyone the best way. So that's just what it is. It's part of the job, But yeah. So anyway, we fast forward. Spring break's over with, and like I said, we didn't have much time. I didn't really appreciate that either, but at the same time, whatever. I worked through it. We all figured. Well, there was a lot of us that left. There was a lot of us. It was me. Gosh, how many did we have? Actually, I think it was like me plus. It's like 7 of us in one place, I think, and then there was another 4 in other places. So there was a good amount of us that we were like, well, and me personally, I'm like, well, my flight's not till the end of the month, and that's going to Vegas. It's not even going home. And like, I kind of don't want to leave because it's beautiful here.
Right.
And like I kind of just was just like a little shook there for a minute. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, do you guys want to stay? And we just kind of like rallied the troops. And we ended up getting like an amazing Airbnb, and some of our staff, we ended up staying together. And we just didn't know it was going to be that long. I expected to stay an extra week, finish out my time there, right? Then fly to Vegas like I was originally supposed to, and then go on the bachelor party. That was my original plan. And obviously, flight to Vegas got canceled. Then I tried to book a flight home. That flight got canceled. Try to book another one. That flight canceled. Try to book a flight to Louisville. Rent a car and drive home. That flight got canceled. Try to book one to Lexington. That flight got canceled. You know?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. Everything was getting canceled. I had no way to get home. So because of that, I ended up staying like an extra 4 weeks.
Goodness.
Yeah. Which like after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm content here because it was getting nuts. We were well into April. And at this point, myself and my staff, my friends, right, who I was living with, we were all just embracing the fact that we were South Padre Island locals at that point. You know,
I'm an Islander now.
Yeah, I'm an Islander. I live here. What do you mean? You know, like we show up in the liquor stores, you know, because it's essential, right? We show up. We're like, "Hey, Danny, how you doing today, buddy? Hey, is Mary in the back, or is she stocking? Oh, she's stocking today. You got her stocking again. You know."
I bet they loved y'all too, with nobody else being able to come down there.
Loved us, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also like my intentions when I was down there, especially with like the people who live and work there, the people at the hotels, the bars, the restaurants. I'm going in, I'm trying to brighten everyone's day. You know, every day at the hotel, we would meet at this hotel called the Pearl. Every day when I walk in, you know, the people there working guest services, they would just anticipate it. I was like, "Good morning. How are you doing?"
Hola, Juan.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, yeah. How you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing great. Guess what? I woke up on an island today, and it's fantastic." You know, I just be over the top happy because that's how it felt. I mean, it's so beautiful down there. So beautiful. It's amazing. I would live there in a heartbeat. But yeah, so that it was crazy. And, you know, the only thing looking back that kind of sucked about living down there after all the spring breakers had left, after it was complete shutdown, you know, was the fact that myself and my friends down there, we realized after like going into like week 2 of living there that, yeah, it was amazing to be on the island. We were doing way better. We were in a much safer place than anywhere else in the country at the time because we were literally on an island quarantine, you know, which is another big factor as to why we wanted to stay, because we're thinking, okay, well, we just come in contact with 10,000 people minimum. You know, it would be irresponsible of us to fly back home. So
you feel like there's a chance you might have got it at some point?
Well, I believe I had it back in January.
Really?
Like, 1,000% I had it in January. Yeah, big time. I mean, every single symptom of coronavirus I had in January. 1,000%. I was down hardcore, almost about to go to the hospital. I was down so bad. I was down for 5. I was down for 5 total days where I could barely move. Like the only time I was moving was to get up to use the restroom. That's the only time I was moving.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it was the only time I was moving around. And then it took me like between 8 and 10 days to be like living a normal life, moving around again.
Did you think you just had like a flu at the time?
Yeah, I thought I had as close to the flu or potentially like pneumonia as I'd ever gotten before. Because I don't really like get sick, but the guy that I was around is absolutely disgusting. Like he's one of those guys that like doesn't cover his mouth when he coughs, or like doesn't cover his mouth when he sneezes, and he's a grown man. You know, he's just nasty.
That's a fighting gesture these days. Somebody sneezes without covering their mouth. Oh yeah, fisticuffs for that.
Totally. Yeah. So he's just really disgusting to be around. You know, always spitting and snot and just it's just a constant thing, you know. And we were in the car together, and he sneezed like 3 times in a row, and it was so big that it like soaked his, like, you could see the saturation on the steering wheel and the windshield. Yeah. Oh yeah, in the windshield. Within 2 days, I was down. And he had, yeah, seriously, within 2 days, I was down for the count. And the thing is, too, is like, that was like the end. He was like finally coming off of his sickness, I believe, is how like the timeline worked. I will say that he did definitely take care of me, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he's absolutely disgusting to be around. but yeah, he definitely did take care of me, because he was like, dude, I know exactly what you're going through. Take all of this now, you know? Yeah.
I definitely had some symptoms back in November, but, you know, I just figured it was, you know, scratchy throat. I have really bad allergies, so that's pretty normal for me. It was just a little bit worse than what it normally is, but, you know, I never even considered it being the virus. I mean, that was November, so I was way before. So I don't know if I did or didn't. I haven't gotten a test. I did lose my health insurance when I got laid off, so that was kind of rough.
Oh, that's convenient.
What made me even more salty about getting laid off at the time was, you know, I was trying to build this new division, something brand new around here. And something like that's slow building. So it's, you know, I heard a lot of no's, and I got a lot of really bad rejections for a while. And then I had just got a really good partnership with a nationwide organization. And then literally the day that Governor Beshear made the initial like big announcement in early March, I had just got out of a meeting with one of the universities in Kentucky, and they were about to pay for the program for their employees. So I had this was my third meeting with this place, and it was about to completely change my life. Like, I had been working pretty much since college for that one deal that financially would have changed everything for me.
Dude.
Yeah, man. And literally on the ride home, I listened to the announcement with my director, and it just like was so deflating. I mean, he was trying to, you know, be as positive as possible. You know, back when the market crashed in 2008, the company was really good about still paying people that had sales goals that weren't going to be able to be met. So their commission would have been crazy down. The company decided to take over and give them the money that they were projected to make based on their last 12-month averages. And that was one of the things that I really liked about working in Enterprise is it's a big private company. I didn't know it was a private family-owned company.
Oh, wow.
And they do a really good job of taking care of their people. So it was just, it's pretty devastating, man. It's been crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, I feel it. I feel it. My industry's screwed. We are screwed. We are totally screwed. Gosh.
Have you had any events since then, or has pretty much your whole year gotten wiped? Like, what does it look like?
So after that spring break gig, we were supposed to be heading to Virginia Beach to work on Pharrell's music festival. It's called.
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was called Something in the Water. You know, so talk about a crazy year. You know, I told all my management and supervisors, I was like, guys, you know, I've always wanted to work with Pharrell, always, since I started listening to his music when I was a kid. Now, here's the chance to work on something that's near and dear to his heart. His hometown is Virginia Beach. And the year prior was the inaugural year. I think they sold over 50,000 tickets. It went over so well that the city itself actually made a profit. That's unheard of. Yeah, that's unheard of. I don't quote me on this, but I believe, I'm usually pretty good at remembering these numbers. I believe that the city made $250,000 profit.
Wow.
Yeah, so they made that back. You know what I mean? You got to think how much money it takes from the city, how much requirement it takes when it comes to traffic control, fire and safety. You know, you got your police. You know, you've got your beach patrol. You know, your lifeguard. You know, you've got all of that, and that's only just to name a few of what you need. You know, structural wise, to actually produce an event of that caliber, and it's literally on the beach. Super cool, right?
Oh, but that was sick. It's
Oh my
crazy
god,
how much stuff
amazing.
goes into the back end of setting up those kind of events. Like those are
Oh
the
yeah.
things you take for granted as a concert grower.
For sure, for sure. You know, and the talks that we had prior to were just so fascinating because you know we're looking at these maps and you know these CAD maps that they call them, and you know we're studying traffic patterns and you know with vehicle traffic and foot traffic and figuring out, you know, where these people are going to get picked up, where they're going to get dropped off, you know, what are going to be the ingress points, the egress points, you know, all these different things. And it's just that type of shit, man. I mean, it really gets me going. You know, I mean, that's the stuff that I love. I mean, I've been organizing events for a long, long time, but like when it comes to being that detailed, that's the stuff that I really enjoy. And I think that's why I'm good at it, is because I really enjoy it. I'm like, man, this is great. You know, like, and just knowing about everything, all the inner workings. So obviously that was the first festival to go. You know, it was in April, so that was the first gig. And my big goal for this year, I had put my management and supervisors through a training course that I actually created, which was really cool, and had everyone at our office in downtown Columbus. They all came in from different parts, you know, of the state and of the states. You know, some people came from out of state as well, which was really cool. Showing their commitment, you know, which meant a lot to me because I mean, that's a big deal. You know, you're coming just to get trained and you're coming from out of state. To me, that's a deal. That's a big deal. You know, it means you're really
That's commitment
serious.
right there. Yeah, for
Yeah,
real.
yeah. You know, it means you're really serious about what I've got going on, what we all have going on as a team. So I was so confident in in the management and supervisors that we had. With so many supervisors that were like, you know, on the cusp of, it's like, okay, you know, they're performing really well. Let's give them a shot. Let's give them like a probationary period where they can, you know, they can get a promotion, become a super. I mean, we just had a lot of really good people, you know, and I just felt so good about it. And I preached to them 20 in 2020. That was my goal. 20 major
Oh, okay.
events in 2020, and that should be the minimum of what we think about. And with the festival calendar, it's not impossible, but it would have, it was going to be difficult.
That's hustling.
Um, really promoting, you know, with the staff, and you know, really just trying to get everyone very excited, you know, about the new year and about, you know, the changes. I implemented a whole new, you know, standard of operations, you know, and just a lot of things structurally that the company was really lacking, and everyone was pumped about it, you know, because people love that sort of thing, you know. I mean, when they have no organizational structure in the past, and they're just kind of like, you know, barely getting by, and then all of a
It
sudden,
can
you
be
know,
super frustrating.
yeah, definitely, and it was, you know, I mean, it was interesting how I came with that company as well, because I kind of came in as just like a supervisor and heard everyone's negatives and, you know, their kind of complaints and things like that, and then I had the opportunity to fix it all. So, um, but yeah, I mean, we had event after event. I mean, the biggest in the nation. You know, every major festival that you could think of, and what was cool is, like for instance, like in July, you know, and it was going to be two rock festivals back to back, and we were literally going to be leaving one and driving straight from that to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to go to another one. And we were, I mean, as
Dang.
the moment we arrived in Grand Rapids, we were going to have to get to work.
Which
And
ones were they?
so incarceration,
Okay, yeah, I
and
remember that one.
Yeah, that's in Mansfield, Ohio, and that one sold out 15K last year. Amazing little festival. It really is. Love all the people that work there. So we were super excited to return back and just a lot more organized. There was a lot of things that we could have done better, and I wasn't in control at that point last year. So we were pumped to come back, and we were even going to play a bigger role this year. And then we were going to – it was called – geez, it came on at the last minute. It was like maybe Upheaval, I think is what it was called. Upheaval. Here, I've got it in my calendar. Let me go back.
I thought you were going to say the Hella Mega Tour. I was definitely trying to get tickets to that. Fall Out Boy, Weezer, and Green Day. I've never seen any of them live. I was trying to go to that.
Oh yeah, that would have been sweet. Which the Incarceration lineup this past year was sick.
Yeah, I think Weezer was on that, right?
Weezer was on it, I believe. Blink-182, Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, just a lot of like the older. Dude, it was gonna bang. It was gonna bang.
I still can't believe the guy from Blink-182, Tom DeLonge, is like an alien hunter. Have you heard about that?
Oh yeah. I love his Rogan. That was
so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, Rogan was so skeptical, man, and now it's like aliens are real, bro. Like, bring him back. He needs to bring him back. He's got to bring him back on the show. He has to. He needs to allow him the chance to get a little redemption. That's what needs to happen.
I don't know, man. He was pretty out there, though, man.
He's way out there. Yeah. Yeah. Upheaval, though, that was the name. Yeah, it was Upheaval. Sorry, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, and I don't remember the lineup to that one. I just didn't have it memorized yet. But
I was getting excited for not Bourbon. There's Bourbon and Beyond. Oh, what's the main one called?
Oh, Forecastle.
No, not Forecastle. The heavy metal one. Because I was planning on using that weekend as like my main blowout since we weren't going to go to Vegas anymore.
Yeah.
And it was like Metallica was going to be there.
Yeah, they had two nights of Metallica.
Yeah, well, then Metallica had to cancel because James went into rehab. And then they got so much blowback because of that. They added a fourth night, which was going to be Thursday. Because after James got out of rehab, they had like a scheduling conflict for the weekend, but they could have done Thursday. So they were going to come in Thursday and do an extra night of it. It's not Rock on the Range. That was in Ohio.
Yeah, well, Louder Than Life.
Louder Than Life, yes.
Louder Than Life. Louder Than Life. That was going to drive me nuts. That got
canceled. Yeah, me too. That was, I mean, where we were living in Louisville at the time, you could hear that from our front porch.
That's badass.
And I had kind of gone to Bourbon and Beyond and scoped out how I wanted to do it. And I was going to camp out there with a vehicle so we could have like food and stuff there. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had a huge grand plan for that, man. That was hopefully, I don't know, man. Do you think concerts are ever going to like come back? Like, what's the future of concerts look like?
You know, yeah, I think it's impossible to give a definitive answer at this point. But what I will say is that with schools going back, I mean, like there's so many different steps. There's so many different levels. There's so many different things that are happening that will eventually lead to, I feel like, hopefully like so like it'll eventually lead to everything getting back to normal. I think we're a long way away, but and right now I don't really agree with kids going back to school. I think that's stupid, especially if we can't have a concert. How do you expect kids to be in school? You know, like if we can't have a 300-person, 500-person cap venue be sold out to the max, okay, and have a 3-hour concert, how do you expect to have 1,000 kids in a school when kids are nasty and disgusting for 8 hours a day minimum? And then the ones that play sports, they're at school, they're on the school grounds for 10 plus hours, you know, coming in contact with so much. It's like, okay, On the flip side of that, if it happens successfully, which it's already not in Georgia, okay?
Right. They what, 3 days, and then they had to postpone it again?
3 days, they're like, yep, all right, pull the plug.
I mean, I've got a buddy that
Up.
teaches at a private school, and they had a couple of teachers drop out, so they had to have a crazy, like, all hands on deck meeting this past week, and they've had to push it back, but they're afraid that if they go back to remote learning like they did in the springtime, that a lot of their kids are just going to say, why am I paying for a private school when I could go to a public school and still have the same kind of quality online courses? Like, I mean, we've already got a problem with people kind of not being the smartest here in the States. So like, can you imagine if the education system gets blasted like this for another year, or I mean, even another semester? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, it already is. It already is. I mean, think of all those kids that were truant.
I can't even.
They hate logging onto their computer.
Yeah.
There's no way. If you're a 16-year-old and you're already truant.
I can't even imagine how many don't even really have access to the resources to be able to make that work.
100%. So, the girl that I live with, she is like she's kind of like a substitute teacher. Then she runs like an after school program at Cincinnati Public Schools. Okay, and the area that she's working in is it's definitely it's poverty. It's lower class. It is she's in the middle of the hood, straight up. And you think those kids have a laptop or an iPad? I mean, some of these kids, she can't even get their parents to pick them up from school. They're literally she's like having to call them and like, hey, your 8-year-old is still at school and I've been here for an hour after. Like, what's your ETA? And they're like, nah, you can have them. Like, I'm good. It's like you think that mom or dad or whoever is like, really? Come on. They've got their own agenda, It's like, and it's so sad for the kids, but that's how it is. That's the reality of what's up. And you think of this is just Cincinnati, and that's just one school.
The whole kind of system is going to have to be adjusted. I've seen a lot of people offering online teaching services, which I'm included in that. If anybody needs any tutoring, come hit your boy up. Back when I lived in Boston, I used to work at a tutoring center, and it's something I've kind of kept up part-time sparingly, just to kind of help, keep a little extra money coming in. Yeah. But kind of getting back to the concerts thing, like I've seen in Europe, they did a socially distanced concert where they have these kind of cubicles set up. And then something cool that Metallica is doing at the, let's see, we got 2 more weeks for it. They're putting on a show that's, pre-produced, but they're going to have it released at drive-in theaters across the country. So that way people can be in their cars and be socially distanced. So it's going to be interesting to see how the market really adapts creatively to find, solutions going forward. But honestly, I don't think the systems that we had in place going into this year are really ever going to be back to the same way we once knew them.
No. And I mean, again, it's so hard to give a definitive answer, but if this circus continues to be the circus that it is, because I mean, I don't think we've made any progress. Not as many people are dying, thank goodness.
Whoa. Yesterday, I believe, was the highest number of single-day deaths that we've had.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. So it's like, okay, if that's the fact, if that's it's like, okay, we're making no progress. And in fact,
and this is the summertime.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's supposed to not be the virus is not supposed to be able to live. Right. So if we're making no progress, we're actually, we're hindering any progress whatsoever by sending kids back to school, by opening up bars and restaurants way too soon, and the American people, they're we are the most free country on the planet. I would say. Maybe if you talk about like Australia, New Zealand, something like that, they probably have the same freedoms, right? But we're so used to being so free and doing whatever the hell we want. No, like, you kidding me? People are going to do whatever they want. That's why there's so many people not wearing masks now. Like, they're not. So anyway, what my point is, we're taking so many steps backwards. We're not making any progress whatsoever. You know, now you're sending kids back to school, you know, and this thing is continuing to spread. You got people still dying. You know, you got people still not wanting to wear a mask. Like, we're making
the mask
no
thing really is crazy to me. Like, just the fact that it's been so hyper politicized.
Yeah.
Like, from what I understand, Japan was able to pretty largely control the outbreak, and they didn't have to shut down their businesses. They just are used to these kind of things, and everybody wore a mask.
Yeah.
So it completely cut down the transmission rate. And it's just kind of demoralizing seeing all the crazy amount of misinformation here in the US that's just, you know, mainly completely for political purposes.
Right.
It's crazy to think about. And it's scary when these new reports come out about the long-term effects. I know a lot of people are asymptomatic and you know, it's not really hurting them. But I've heard a lot of things about lung damage and brain damage and heart damage. I heard a stat like 40% of people who have had it and recovered, their hearts are comparable to someone who has had a stroke. If you know, get in and do the analysis. I can't remember. I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. Like, just the uncertainty, like, we don't understand it enough to be able to know what the long-term effects of, even if you are asymptomatic, you might still have something going on internally that you aren't aware of. Like, who knows what the long-term effects of this stuff's going to be?
Right, but send your kid back to school. You know, it's like, what? Like, what?
If Trump early on would have said, everybody wear a mask, go to my website, here's a Make America Great Again mask, and people could have rallied behind that, I think it's a completely different landscape in the U.S. right now. He missed an opportunity to market something there, man. It's a business opportunity.
There you go. He messed up there. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. I'm interested to see what happens after November. What happens when all this? What happens? What happens whenever we know who the next president is going to be? And all of the political involvement of this coronavirus is, I mean, at that point, there's only one party that can talk about it, really. You know? I mean, it's like...
Again, going back to the whole wisdom and control what you can't control thing, I've tried to limit how much I let myself think about the election and everything.
Yeah.
But when you let it creep in, it's scary.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, the coronavirus is so politicized, and, you know, going back to kind of like what we were originally talking about with, you know, the return of entertainment and concerts and stuff like that. That's why I say there's no way you can give a definitive answer, because it's a circus right now. Okay, with politics, and it has been really since Trump took office. Okay, before, of course, but now it's like polarizing to a lot of people. And so it's just
been pretty polarizing since, well, pretty much our whole lives, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just like, okay, if it continues how it's going, concerts are not going to return until 2022. Like a festival like Coachella. Okay, I was out there literally living at the festival site for Coachella and Stagecoach. I was there for like 38 days. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Living on the site. Okay. I'm just living in a camper, literally waking up, and I'm like, okay, go to work. You know, it was amazing. But that's like 120,000 people, dude.
Gosh.
Think about that. And that's just Coachella. Then Stagecoach comes around, which is basically like the country Coachella, okay? And then you got, I mean, I don't know the numbers on that one. I would say it's probably like 60,000+ people just in that month's time. Dude, if we continue at the rate that we're going, like seeing a Coachella or Stagecoach going down again, I don't care what people say 2021. No, dude, no. If it's going to be 2022. It's going to be 2022 before a festival with the production and the size and the attendance of something like a Coachella or a Stagecoach returns. It's going to be 2022, dude. I mean, and on top of that, with no restrictions. You know, you don't have to wear a mask. You know, you could be sweaty and bump up next to someone on the rail. You know, you whatever, right? Your porta potties aren't 6 feet apart from each other. They're stacked on top of each other, you know? You're literally smelling someone else's shit the next stall over, you know? Like, you know, it's not going to happen until 2022. If we keep going how we're going, it's not. So that's why, like, I was so eager to do something like this podcast and create something to get my mind off the fact, because it's so easy just to be super depressed.
Yeah, because it seems like there's no way that the football season is going to go forward. If they do, there's no way it finishes. No. I mean, Pac-12 has already canceled. Big Ten has already canceled. There's, 3 power conferences that are trying to hold on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way, man. There's no way. I do think some of the sports that are going on right now have done a great job of handling it. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but like the UFC, when the UFC came back, that brought back a lot of my sanity just to have something back.
Yeah.
I think, totally. You know, with the UFC, with how few people are involved relative to the other sports, they could do something like that. Or like the NBA, where they have smaller team sizes, they can do the bubble and you know, have the masks and social distancing and stuff. But I mean, football, there's so many people on those rosters. I mean, forget about having fans there. Just the amount of players that are out there, like, there's no way to do that. And then think about if you do try to bulldoze forward and just say, you know, screw it, we're going to do it regardless, and I don't care what happens. And we're going to take some measures to the best we can. If somebody gets coronavirus and gets really sick or dies, can you imagine the liability from a business perspective on that?
Yeah, crazy. I mean that university's done with. That football program's done with. You know, you get it doesn't matter what school it is, but you know, just say you have a kid that goes to a Florida or Georgia, you know, or even it's one of these SEC schools, right? And just like you said, gets coronavirus whenever the SEC, the teams decide, forget it, we're just going to play, you know. These kids are all in, you know, impeccable shape. We're just going to play through, you know. Ain't no damn coronavirus going to hold me down, you know. And then, like you said, one of those. I mean, think about it. Think about if a God forbid someone like a Trevor Lawrence. I mean, any of these players, you never wanted any of them to get sick or especially die. But say someone as high caliber, right, as a Trevor Lawrence, quarterback of Clemson, right? Say he gets coronavirus and passes away. The country would go nuts.
Yeah,
people would go nuts. His family, his friends, his teammates. They would go nuts.
It's funny that you mentioned him because he's kind of like leading the charge of, hey, we still want to play. # let us play or something like that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, of course. If I was a player, absolutely I want to play, but I also don't want to die. I want no part in that.
When I was still playing in college, like, nah, bro, you ain't getting me out there.
Well, you know,
like the off-season weightlifting programs and just like sweating all up in these, you know, weight rooms and using the same bars and everything and the benches and nah, man, I'm taking the year off. You better guarantee it.
Well, we know where you Ivy Leaguers stand on fall sports. You guys were the first ones. Is that why you guys
setting the example ones? First and foremost? You damn right.
Yeah. Oh, we're good. We're good.
I mean, they just delayed it to the spring. How the hell is that going to work?
It's not. It's not. I mean, yeah.
Are they going to have camp in January and then you're starting playing in February? Like, how's that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, especially because we're making no progress. We're making no progress. People are still dying. Like, people are still contracting the virus and dying. We're making no progress whatsoever. There's no vaccine. Okay, there's not going to be a vaccine until 2021. Okay.
And a lot of people have already said that when a vaccine comes out, they're not getting involved with it. I mean, we've already got a ton of anti-vaxxers, but there's a fresh wave of people that, I mean, and I understand, like, especially the first round of vaccine, there's going to be a high level of skepticism from the population.
Well, yeah, it's like the first round of everything. Like, I've always had an iPhone since they came out, but I've never bought it the first week. I wait like 5 months so they can get the kinks out. You know, like, hey, let your phone blow up and overheat. I'm good on that, bro. My iPhone's still working. I'll wait until the fucking second generation, you know, and then I'm buying that iPhone that you got, you know. Yeah, I mean, absolutely not. I mean, hey, you're talking to a guy who's never had a flu shot. I'm not getting a coronavirus vaccine. Hell no. I don't want any part of that at all. That's why I don't get a flu shot. I'll probably never get a flu shot. Maybe in my older years I'll get a flu shot.
I got a flu shot one time my freshman year of college, and it was the sickest I have ever gotten, probably in my adult life. I was bedridden for a week. Bro, my coach was calling me like, dude, are you alive? You sound terrible. And like, yeah, I mean, it was literally the day after I got the flu shot, I started feeling bad. And then I was out for a week, man. I didn't even leave my dorm room except to go across the hall into the bathroom. Like, that was it.
You're like, nah, coach, I just got this shot that's supposed to prevent me from severe sickness. But so I'm super sick right now. Like, oh my God.
Don't get it twisted, though. I'm very much pro-vaccination and all of that. Like, I'm not one of these people that's saying, like, don't get your kids vaccinated. I'm very much pro-vaccinations.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think this is obviously a very unique case. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't make that decision now. You know, who knows what the world's going to look like when we do get to that point. Yeah. But I know that there's a ton of skepticism, and you're not going to be the only one that won't get a vaccine once it comes out. Like,
oh yeah, right here, skeptic, 100%. Yeah, because I mean, now, okay, if there was number one, I only know one person, okay, and I know quite a bit of people. You know quite a bit of people, right? I only know one person, and I haven't talked to this person in years, but I saw him on Facebook say that they did have coronavirus. And then my roommate, her, like, I feel bad for not knowing this, like uncle or grandfather or something like that. Anyway, he was old, okay? He was up there in age, and I think he already had some pre-existing medical conditions. But he got it and passed away. And then the kid that I know, I went to like grade school with him. I'm pretty sure he ended up beating it, but he was like bad in the hospital, sick. That's the only people that I know, period, that's had it.
I know a couple people that we mutually know that have got it.
Yeah, I mean,
in the hospital right now.
I've had it. I mean, like I said, I 100% believe that I had it in January and I beat it. And I beat it with home remedies and an immune system like a stallion. but you know, if there was more clear information, you know, if there was like, you know, definitive like facts, you know, about it that we knew, maybe I'd be more apt to get a vaccination, you know. Still not interested in getting the flu shot.
Yeah,
but,
no.
You know, and I know the flu kills people, and this also kills people. Because it's so new, I think I would probably get I would get a vaccination for coronavirus before I would get one for the flu if we actually were handling this thing the right way, and if Like, these doctors had facts and they weren't just pulling shit out of their ass. You know, I mean, think about it. When this thing first surfaced, doctors were telling us that you don't have to wear a mask, and the mask ain't gonna do anything. And now it's like, oh, it's 100% required. What? Like, oh, it can only survive in the cold weather. So once we hit summer, we're all Gucci. And now it's like, oh shit, man, we messed up on that one too. It's like, come on, man, people's lives are at risk. Get your game tight, doctors. Dang.
They really ruined their credibility when Dr. Fauci was coming out and saying, you know, don't go out and buy up all these masks. His intention was so that we didn't run out of masks for like our doctors and our nurses and our frontline defenders. And then later he came out and said, yeah, you should wear a mask, but we just didn't. We said that at the time because we didn't want people snatching them all up and end up running out of it. So then it's like, okay, so you knowingly lied to the public and you're admitting it now. So why should we trust you about anything?
Yeah, scumbag. Yeah. It's like, what? No. The shortest term friend, if they ever lied to me, I'm not listening. I'm done with you. Like, I don't ever want to hang out with you ever again. Like a brand new coworker, someone I had to see every day. If you lie to me in the first week that I knew you, I don't want to listen to a word you have to say unless I have to. And in the majority of the situations, I ain't gotta, you know? So, yeah, come on. All credibility's ruined.
And I'm not trying to hate on Fauci in particular. That was just the example that came to mind. I actually, really like hearing his opinions, but there's a big spectrum, from him over to forget what those doctors were that came out and were pretty much just the exact opposite, trying to say like, it's no big deal, don't even worry about it. Kids can't even get it or whatever. Just so much misinformation out there, man. Like
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, there's so much misinformation that to think that, again, a festival like the size of the Coachella, 120,000 people over a 3-day period of time, it's not coming back. It's not coming back like it used to until 2022. If we keep going at this rate. And even then, who knows? Who knows?
And who knows what the economy will look like by then?
Yeah. 100%.
Like I know the stock market looks good right now, but that's not an indication of what your average American's daily life is looking like. And plus, we've been propping that up through pumping money into it from the Fed. Like, your average American is not thriving right now.
No.
So, I mean, I heard something like 40% of small businesses are going to end up permanently closing because of this. I don't see how any businesses are surviving at all right now.
Yes, some government relief, but it's like, another thing that'll be interesting is 5 years down the road, hopefully when this stuff is we're far past it. What's going to be interesting to me is how many people face federal time for fraud in the government. There's so many small businesses that are taking this PPP money and they are not putting it where they said they were going to put it. Let me tell you. And the government does not forget about that.
And there's so many individuals scamming the system.
Yeah, totally.
Like I know just off the top of my head, I know at least one person that had quit their job before all of this and still somehow weaseled their way into getting the $600 plus up as though they had been laid off because of COVID.
And meanwhile, somebody like you who needs it, who deserves it, is still waiting on their money. The system is so screwed. Screwed.
Like I said, I'm not trying to be in a wait mode at this point. I've pretty much accepted that I'm not banking on anything coming in from the government to come and bail me out. So I've been sending out job applications like crazy, just trying to get myself back out there. back to the way, back to what I started with, just got to try to focus on what you can control. I can already feel my blood pressure coming up just from this short conversation we've had. Like, I think that might be enough coronavirus talk for me for the rest of the week. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Totally. I mean, the last thing I'll say is, this was going to be probably my most successful year of my life. Honestly,
Same.
the way that I had everything set up, and I was going to enjoy it more than any year of my life, because I was going to be with a great staff, a lot of my handpicked, which just gave me more just joy, just to see them grow and just perform so well and to learn. I mean, I was going to be surrounded by the people I wanted to be around. We were going to really be making moves, traveling the entire country. I mean, we had to deal with Red Bull going that could have potentially had us working all of Red Bull's events.
I remember you saying something about that too. I mean,
yeah, nationwide and in Mexico.
I was supposed to get married in October, man.
Yeah,
we had to cancel our whole wedding. We ended up going from, it was going to be in October. We had this date 10/10/2020 picked out, which is, I was excited about. I'm kind of weird about numbers and stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And, I've got a lot of friends from across the country, up in the Northeast, on the West Coast. And, ultimately I just did not feel comfortable asking people to come in and make that, or even put the pressure on them to make the choice. So we just went ahead and made the choice for everybody. Like, hey, I don't want to put this on you. Let's just go ahead and pull the plug. I can't imagine if we would have actually gone through with it and then somebody would have got sick, the amount of guilt I would have felt from that for like the rest of my life. Yeah. Like,
totally,
it's crazy. And I mean, I'm not the only one that had to cancel a wedding this year. I know at least 2 other people off the top of my head, just in our friends group, that have had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy year.
Yeah. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of absolutely nuts, you and I were talking about something a couple of days ago that I wanted to kind of pry into a little bit more. Just going back to your experience in the entertainment industry. I know you got stories for days, and particularly one where you had a start to finish pretty interesting experience with a new artist. So I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to go ahead and let you take the floor here.
Are you talking about Mike Jones?
the old boy Mike Jones.
Who? What are you talking about? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, man, Mike Jones.
So just take me from the process. Like, what was it like reaching out, getting in contact? Did you make the first move to try to book him and bring him into Lexington? Like, kind of walk me through that, and then how things progress from there.
Yeah. So, I like with Lexington, especially at that time, us and really one other promoter, he's a good friend of mine. He's one of the guys that owned, half of Cosmic. It was pretty much just us and him that were throwing shows. And, something that I said often is, especially with like what we were trying to do and like get like the younger market with a lot of like college based artists, is we were having to, we had a very difficult task overall, because not only were we trying to book artists, okay, the hardest thing I think in the business, probably one of the toughest jobs in the world, is being a damn concert promoter, okay? There's just so many things that go into it. There's not a lot of upside. There's not a lot of room to make your money back either.
Very thankless job, yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, we were having to train the market. We were having to train people and teach people in Lexington, hey, this concert, you should buy a ticket and go to it because it's cool. It's really fun. You know how you say there's never any good things or exciting things that come to Lexington except UK basketball and Keeneland? Here's an opportunity. Buy this ticket. Come
People
on
love
out.
complaining about that. Yeah.
They love complaining about that. Hey, you know how you said you wish that this artist would come to Lexington? Well, guess what? We're bringing him next week. Oh, now all of a sudden you've got plans? Oh. Yeah, so I don't want everyone to hear you complain again. You know, it was always a whole lot of that. So that always was tough. There was just many obstacles. But with Mike Jones, something we saw with a few other shows that we had booked is that the age demographic, which was is our age, right? They all have the money to spend $25 on a concert ticket or $20. You know, it's not too pressing. But for that age demo, it better be on a weekend because they got work in the morning. You know, so also Mike Jones, I was always a fan in high school. He was a huge star. I mean, multi-platinum selling artist.
He blew up right when we were graduating. Yeah.
Exactly. 05, 06.
You couldn't go to a dance or a twerk fest or a nothing without hearing some Mike Jones blasting.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, not a chance. I mean, everybody's rolling up, just banging his music. So, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, you know what? Mike Jones would be a really interesting artist to bring. And there were plenty other old school artists that we considered. There's even more that we brought. And
when you say old school, what time is it when you're trying to book him?
So this was, I think our show was in 2015, I think,
okay.
whenever we had that show. And
so a good 5+ years after he initially bust onto the scene.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, that was a decade after his first platinum album. So his first platinum album was in 05. We booked him, I think, in 2015. So, anyway, yeah. So I felt that he would do really well. I knew that a lot of my friends would love to see that show, and a lot of that age demographic felt the same way. I felt like he would be very entertaining, and I love bringing artists that you would have never ever thought would step foot in Lexington. You know, my hometown, our hometown, right?
Right.
I love bringing artists to my hometown that a lot of people, they were never in a million years would I have ever thought that artist would be in my hometown.
And especially with the type of venues you work with predominantly at that time, it was more of a, your club intimate kind of setting. We're not talking about Rupp Arena or anything like that. We're talking about, being able to get right up on the stage and interact with these kind of people. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, so, there you've got now there's a couple more venues, but it was, you've got a 400 cap venue all the way up to a 1,500 cap venue. And then you got Rupp Arena, Right. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. There wasn't really much to work with. And that also limits the amount of artists you can bring unless you want to take a risk,
right.
which we were known to do, yeah. So anyway, I reached out just how, you normally would, as a talent buyer, and, found his management and stuff and just went through the process, negotiated back and forth, made sure he wanted to do the show. He was available. And at that point, we were working so closely with Mark and, with the venue there, RIP Cosmic Charlie's, awesome venue.
I know.
And that was the original. Yeah, that was the original location, and I mean I just so many memories in that location, man. And big shout out to to Mark Evans, because he and I got the chance to tell him this recently too. I'm just so thankful because he allowed us the opportunity to grow there, and that meant a lot. And he allowed us to book a lot of shows that he certainly never would, but he liked that. Because he's not thinking along those lines, and then we were able to help him as well, promote, and just get mass people out there. So it was an awesome relationship. Those are great memories. But, Mike finally settled on everything. And it was an unreal experience, really. Surreal moment whenever he finally took the stage. Didn't think he was gonna make it. So
What do you mean? Like not make it to town?
no. So I've never had an artist cancel on me, which has been great.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I've never even thought twice, honestly, about an artist ever canceling. Just all my contracts are rock solid. I feel like they can really tell, like what a person is about. Whenever you talk to them, you exchange, you negotiate with them, exchange emails, etc. So yeah, I've never really worried about it. But so everything's final. We pick him up from the airport. There's a lot that could be said about that. But I don't want to, it was an interesting situation. I don't want to like knock the situation at all. I don't want to like talk bad about it. It was just, I didn't expect him to be alone. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
Wait, what do you mean?
Every rapper that I've ever booked, I mean, they're showing up minimum 4 people with them. Minimum.
Yeah, I remember when you did Capital Fest in Frankfurt, we had to go up and pick up Kent Jones. And I mean, that was a car full of people. If there would have been one more person, we wouldn't have had room for him. So
and he came in from Dubai.
Yeah, dude, he was cool, man. He had all sorts of stories. They were cool. They were really cool.
Yeah, man. We the best music, man. He's down there with DJ Khaled. Yeah.
So Mike Jones rolls up without a crew at all?
It's just Mike Jones. It's just Mike, man. It's just Mike. And like I said, I don't want to go into details and about that, but I'll just leave it at that. I was really surprised and shook. And when he walked up and he had his hood up and he was on his phone and he was like, when he took his hood off, and also he lost all the weight. He lost all the weight too, which I knew he had lost weight. I didn't know he was like ripped. Like this is like Mike Jones 2.0, like shredded Mike Jones.
And he had a crazy transformation.
Yeah. I mean, he went from chubby Cuddy Buddy to like in the gym, be a Cuddy
on that 50
Buddy.
Cent plan.
Yeah. So, and I remember like whenever he dapped me up, I was like, God dang, like, that's a hell of a handshake you got there, man. Like, you're ripped, Mike. Like, when did this happen, I remember the old, beer belly gut tall tee wearing Mike Jones with the do-rag on.
Bro, he's been out there flossing in that candy paint, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's blowing hella dank. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, we get him in the ride, and from the moment he got in, because again, these are rappers, and I'll never forget it. I never felt more embarrassed from when like the first time that's when I took Riff Raff. I wasn't supposed to take him back to the airport after his first show. That was supposed to be like his team, but then something happened with their flight, so they had to hop on a flight. And then I was with one of my exes that at the time, and she had spent the night with me, and
she who shall not be named.
She who shall not be named, and we were having an intimate moment, and the phone rings. And of course, I get slapped because of this, but I answer the phone.
I mean, you got to.
You got to answer the phone.
Calling, you answer the phone.
When Riff Raff calls, you got to answer the phone. And it was his DJ at the time. It's a friend of mine now. It's DJ Afterthought. And he was like, yo, man, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm busy, bro. Like, what's up? Like, what's the issue? And he's like, hey, man, like, whatever happened, I forget what it was. He's like, you got to take Riff to the airport. Like that's what it was. He like missed his flight or something. They had like stayed up partying or something like that. So his flight changed. He was supposed to leave early in the morning. His flight changed like later in the afternoon or whatever. It was like noon or some shit, And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, man, like I already hit him up. Like he's going to call you here in like 15 minutes. Like you got to get him to the airport soon. Like it was within like 45 minutes he had to be at the airport.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, dude, what? So
Oh, that's tough.
completely interrupted what I had going on at the moment. And, you know, I had to get myself together, Riff calls, what up, bro? You know, anyway, the reason why I mentioned that is because I just wasn't prepared, and like, I should have known, like, you got to be prepared at all times for anything to happen, you know.
Yeah, it's not like picking a buddy up at the airport and you just go back and kick it. Like, they got an agenda and they got, you know, expectations.
For sure. And especially at that time, that's riffraff. That's tiptoeing to my Jordan's riffraff. Like, he's at the peak. He was signed with CAA at that time, you know. He's big time at that point. He was peaking. So, anyway, he gets in, you know, everything's cool, but he's just like, you got a blunt? I'm like, oh, man.
Is this Mike Jones now?
No. This was
Riff Raff.
It was Riff Raff. I was just like, oh man, I cannot. I'm like, bro, I'm so sorry. I'm like, nah, dude, like, I don't have any weed. I've got nothing for you. I'm so sorry. And he was like, shit, man, you know. And then he was just like, hold up, and he starts like rummaging through, like, you know, his stuff. Luckily, he ends up finding some, and that's a whole other story, because I almost couldn't drive. Like, he made me hit it, and I was just like, oh my god. Like, I was on New Circle Road. For those people who don't know, New Circle Road is like our like freeway expressway in Lexington. And it's just a giant circle, and it's only 2 lanes.
And it's a mess.
And it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Absolute mess. The speed limit's only 55, which is a joke. And it looked like it was like 1 lane in front. It was so bad. It was so bad. But anyway, jumping back to Mike, I learned my lesson. So the moment that Mike Jones got in the van, he was greeted with a blunt. And he did not have a blunt in his hand until the moment I dropped him back off at the airport in Louisville.
Oh my goodness!
So we kept him very satisfied, and we kept him extremely high. Yeah, but it was just it was a surreal moment, because we get him in the van and we start driving back to Lexington. You know, we get him on. You know, like once we got on the highway, that's when he started like asking questions, you know, because it's me and like one of my homies at the time. We're in the front, and then we just got Mike Jones in the back of this van, you know, and he's just kind of
random van. Did you get like a rental or what?
Yeah, we got a rental, yeah, but they didn't have any like super nice SUVs, and you already know my problem with rental places, man.
Enterprise, man.
Dude, my goodness, I was livid. I was livid.
If I was working there at the time, I would have hooked you up.
Oh, I already know. But, dude, I show up and I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're like, it's your large size SUV or other, or whatever, you know? And I'm like, this is not an SUV. I specifically called in and requested an SUV. You said you would have an SUV. Do you realize I'm picking up a rapper? You want me to pick up a rapper in a town and country? What the hell are you talking? I need a Suburban with blacked out windows. Like, what do you think this is? What do you think I look like pulling up in a baby blue town and country to pick up a platinum selling rapper? Like, what do I look like? I look like a joker is what I look like. I look like somebody that doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Town and country. I look like someone that took the keys of their mom's van and was like, oh, I'm going to go pick up a rapper, Mom. It's going to be... He starts asking some questions. You know, I'm sure he's just kind of like, all right, so what are these guys like? What are these guys really about here?
Was it just you? Like, who was with you? Like, what?
Me, one other person in the front, and then just Mike in like the second row. And he's like sitting like right in the middle. So he's like looking up, like he has like a clear, like he's sitting like directly behind like what would be like the center console, you know?
I can't imagine what's going on through his head at this point. Like, what the hell? These people got me in Kentucky out here, like in a minivan.
Minivan. Oh, geez. So, and I guess another funny part of that is like we stopped to get gas. We start to to fuel up. I'm like, Mike, man, like
Bro, you didn't fuel up before you got him? Come on, man.
I think I did, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I did. Either way, we stopped. I know it's bad. We stopped. I'm like, Mike, man, you need anything, bro? Like, you want like a beer, like you need like some Rellos, like you need a drink, some snacks. He's like, nah, I'm good. Matter of fact, give me a root beer, but it's got to be the cream soda or creamsicle root or whatever the hell
I
it is.
respect that. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, he was like, if it's not the cream, I don't want it. I'm like, I got you, Mike.
If it's a diet, I send it back.
That's right. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny because I was like, Mike Jones, it's like, give me a root beer, like, but so anyway, he starts kind of like asking us questions and stuff, and like I said, just trying to kind of like see what we're about, and he asked me like so like why me basically, like how did you come up and book me? And I was like, well, honestly, dude, I was like, you were popping like when I was in high school, and I told him my age, and I was like, hey man, I graduated in 06. And as soon as I said that, he was like, oh, shit. Oh, okay. So you know what the deal is then. And I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely. And he was like, oh, okay. So you was there for it. And I'm like, yes. Yeah, man. That's why you're here right now, 100%. And he was like, oh, okay. Respect. Like he kind of knew right then that, okay, this guy's coming from a place where he knows all about like he knows the time. He lived in it, at that time. So it was a lot of just mutual respect, right there on a whole new level. So that was pretty cool. And he's a funny guy, man. Super funny guy. Very nice, very polite, very funny. It was also, again, it's just a surreal moment because I go from high school, we were all bumping his music. We all were a huge fan of Mike Jones. And now I'm rolling down 64 in a minivan with Mike Jones, and he's just getting blasted to the face, smoking, and he's telling me these stories, because I asked him, I was like, so Mike, man, like, what do you think about these new rappers? I was like, do you rock with these new school rappers or what? And I was like, because a lot of people hate on the mumble rap and all that. What's your feelings? And he kind of dove into that a little bit, and it was like he wanted to tell me. He went straight to the T-Pain thing that I kind of mentioned to you before.
Yeah, so, which I had no idea about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I didn't either.
Yeah. So what was that? So they were both on a song together. I'm in love with a stripper, right?
I'm in love with a stripper. Yeah.
One of my you said that anthems. I thought that was a T-Pain song.
Right.
But evidently.
Right. Evidently, it was not a T-Pain song, and it was Mike Jones who had hit T-Pain up for a feature. Yo, can you come on, do the hook and the chorus, lay a verse down? This is my song. And then it ended up on T-Pain's album, and there was a big legal battle, back and forth. And I was like, well, this is kind of where the conversation has to end with me and you, because I'm a big T-Pain fan. I don't want you to I don't want you to swing on me while I'm behind the wheel, Like, I love T-Pain. But yeah, so that was interesting. And I mean, that was a platinum record, could have went multi-platinum. I mean, I'm sure it has, at least by now. Yeah. I mean, that's played in every strip club all around the world. I mean, it's an amazing anthem. And so that was interesting, just to kind of talk like inside, which happens mostly with the artists, that I work with, but just coming in that setting, riding down 64 in my home state with Mike Jones. He's blitzed out of his mind already. He's already smoked like 3 blunts, and he's sipping on his root beer, and he came wearing what he was performing in. No change.
That's economical. I like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Didn't even book a hotel. The way he didn't want a hotel. Because that's the stuff that like we do as promoters. We book the travel, we book book everything, you know. He wanted full control over that, which was interesting. And
So
he
what?
was like, nah, man, like these flights, like this is what I do. Like, I'm good on that. Like, I'll book the flight. I'll like send you like what it costs, and you know, that's it. Like, that's how I
So
operate.
did you just take him straight to the venue, or like where did you go?
Yeah, so we actually did. We went straight to the venue, and we had our sound check, which is normal, and then we didn't have anywhere else to take him, so he just hung out in the green room of the venue for like 3 hours. For like 3 hours, he just, and I mean, you know, like we like just kind of piddled around. Like, he and I made like some promo videos and stuff like that, you know, just hyping up the show. That was one of our first shows. We had a geotag, which was cool, like on Snapchat. So we had a Mike Jones trifection, you know, geotag there. I was showing him that, and he was like, "Oh shit!" You know, like he was impressed because, you know, he saw that we were putting a lot of effort into it. We really wanted him there, and it was really cool to have him there. And I'm pretty sure that show ended up selling out. If not, it was right at capacity. And I would say with our guest list, we were certainly at capacity. So that was cool too, because he got to come to a city that he had never been to before, a decade after his first album, and, you know, long after he had really been at the top. And, you know, he came to a small sellout show, you know, so that was really cool. But in between, that's the hilarious part. So, like I said, he's just hanging out at the venue. Okay, he's just in the green room, and there's not really much there to stay occupied with. You know, there's not like a TV in the green room or anything like that, you know, at Cosmic. So, you know, I mean, you just got a couch and some chairs, a couple tables, and that's it, you know.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we were trying our best to keep, like, even like some of our interns away from him, just because we never want to, I especially never want to be that promoter that just brings a bunch of people around, you know, because, like, I'm not trying to look cool. I'm not trying to bring girls in there to, like, oh, look at who I brought, you know, like
Right.
that. I don't have time for that shit. So
Yeah, it's weak. That's weak
it's
stuff
so
right there.
weak. Yeah, it's weak sauce. So I didn't want a lot of our interns going up and, like, speaking to them for a while. You know, I'm like, look, you know, if you, like, make awkward eye contact with them, go say hi, say what's up, you know. Or if you're actually a fan, even though these are younger college students at the time, or if you just got introduced to his music or something, go up, say, hey, I work for the company, whatever. That's it, because we did have a lot of downtime. Other than that, get away from him, you know. I don't want him bombarded with a bunch of just people who are just trying to, you know, just be posers or whatever.
Yeah,
You know?
leech and do some selfies for their Instagram feed and stuff like that.
Yeah. And there was one local rapper where Eric and I, and Eric was my business partner, one of my business partners, and we thought we were literally going to have to, like, get physical with this kid because he was just so up his ass. He was
Just
so
straight
up my juice.
fangirling.
Oh my God. And it was to the point, I was furious. And I've got all this other stuff going on, but I just peeked my head in the green room. And this is whenever, you know, we had obviously openers and stuff go on. So this is when the show was going, okay? And I had already cleared out the green room once because there was just so many people just trying to get just meet him and talk to him and stuff. It was annoying.
Right. Was this somebody that was performing that night as well?
I don't think that he was performing, no. I don't know, maybe he was. I don't know. I don't remember the openers, man. I don't remember the openers to those shows, but
can't blame you.
Yeah, right. If he wasn't, I'm even more pissed now thinking about it. It would make more sense if he was. I mean, hopefully he was. But long story short, there he's just completely on him, you know. And at first, like, you know, he shared a blunt with him or whatever, and like, okay, that's cool. You met him, you know. You told him you're a rapper. Cool. Okay, be done with it. Shake my hand because I allowed you to have this moment, and then just be done with it. Let's never talk about it again, you know? And there was none of that. There was, okay, I don't respect you for bringing this artist. I'm going to take full advantage of this, and even when you ask me to leave, I'm still going to sit here. I'm still going to keep talking to this guy. Oh, it was blatant. It was bad. Like I said, we literally almost had to like physically remove this guy from the green room, and I was going to kick him completely out of the show. And I don't think I ever worked with him ever again after that moment. And because I just don't have time for him. And also, it's like if you're a local rapper and you're trying to be a pro, that's rule number one, what you don't do when you're in a green room with an artist. So anyway, I poke my head in the green room, and I see him sitting on the couch. And one of our photographers actually got a picture of this very moment. He takes the photo from the opposite side of the green room, and Mike Jones is literally sitting on the couch with a blunt in his hand, and the look on his face, oh my God. He looked directly at me, and he was just like, just so completely over it. Meanwhile, next to him, in his ear, and the picture's perfect because if this is the side of his face, he's literally like this. In his ear, speaking to him. Okay.
Oh, man. You need to teach a class on local rapper etiquette.
Oh God. Well, no, because then I would be giving more time to local rappers, and I can't stand any of them anymore. I'm so done with all of them. So anyway, that part was, and then like I came in, I interrupted. I was like, Mike, you doing okay? When I could clearly see he was not doing okay. And anyway, like the night went on, and everybody that came in that met him was smoking him out. And there were quite a bit of people that were coming in and out of there. And especially because like that show, we did partner with an investor. And so he had his people in there, which I don't mind at all because he had money into the show. You absolutely bring your people, back there,
Yeah,
it wasn't
for sure.
for you, the show wouldn't go, right? So Mike was just so damn high. I mean, he was like he was past the point of like overcoming the high and then smoking it through. He was past that point. He was blitzed. And I remember I poked my head in again, and he's just, at this point, he's starting just like to slump down. And I'm like, oh no. So
you start hearing alarm bells go off like, oh, no, this is not good.
Not good. Spent a lot of money to put this show on, and it's not looking good right now. Yeah. So anyway, I rush over to him. Mike, man, you good? What's up, bro? Everything all good? And he looks up to me. I felt so bad because he looked like he was like helpless. He looked like he was really hurting. I mean, think about it. He just got his ear talked off for like an hour straight.
He's got none of his crew around him. He's surrounded by all these strangers in this little town he never thought he would be in.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
100%. And that's another thing that annoys me. I'm just like, dude, put yourself in their shoes. Like, would you want to go to a city where you knew no one and like you're in this atmosphere and you've got people, yo man, listen to my music, dog. I'm gonna be the next fucking, I'm gonna be the next hot rapper, dog. I'm gonna be the next hot rapper, dog. Like blah 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 blah. Like, dude, get out of here.
Get out of here with all that.
With your 13 plays and the song you released 4 months ago. Get out of here. Get out of here. No one wants to hear you. So, I looked to him, hey man, everything all good? And he looks up to me. He's just like, wow, I'm so hungry. I'm just like, I'm holding back the laughter at this moment. I'm like, I bet you are.
There's a Subway right next door. You want me to go holler at you?
So I start throwing out options. I'm like, yo, man, we'll get you whatever food you need. Just tell me. And he's just like, he looks at me. He's like, what's around? Just so high. And so I start going through the list of like, what I knew that was around. And finally I say Qdoba. And he was like, yeah, that sound good. I'm like, all right, man. So like, you probably don't want a burrito, so you just want me to get you like a bowl? And he was like, yeah, that's perfect. He was like, matter of fact, give me 2 of them things. 2 bowls coming right up. And I had him just write down, he knows what's up. So
Side note, that Qdoba down there on UK's campus, I think it's on Avenue of Champions. It's my favorite place. They used to do breakfast burritos after midnight on weekends. Got your eggs, got your potatoes in there. Oh my goodness. I was talking to Ann about that the other day. I missed that place.
I miss it so much at 3 a.m. too. At 3 a.m. you come pouring in after the bar, breakfast burrito as big as your head.
I would order 2 every time so I could take one home with me and have it the next morning for that hangover cure, man. Oh, I miss it.
It's great planning ahead. I love it.
Anyway.
I love it. Yeah. Delicious. Yeah.
I feel you on the double bowls, Mike Jones.
For sure. So, I ended up sending like our runner, to go get him, his Qdoba. And our photographer got more just money shots of whenever he finally got these bowls, dude. He was devouring these Qdoba bowls.
Did he crush both of them right there?
He crushed both of them. Back-to-back Qdoba burrito bowls, crushed them.
That hurts my stomach just thinking about it. Oh, man.
Full send. So if you think about it, if you were to ever go back-to-back bowls, burrito bowls, by the way, and then after a heavy day of just smoking, and then you follow it up with more blunts, what are you most likely to do?
About to pass out. About to knock straight out.
100%, right? About to pass out. You're already on a comfy couch,
Yeah.
There's local rappers performing, so there's not a lot of noise going on. So it's probably pretty quiet. No, I'm just kidding. That was
over here just hating. Hate.
Let the player haters ball next year. So yeah, he was done eating or whatnot, and I come back in, and I come back in the green room, and he was just continuing. People were just handing him just blunt after blunt after blunt. And he started to drink a little bit. I think he was like drinking like tequila or something. So I look at him, and I mean, he was struggling. And for the first time ever, I thought to myself, like, holy shit, like, I don't know if he's going to be able to perform. Like he is so ripped right now, and he just ate, and he just got a tongue lashing for an hour and a half.
How far is it from game time at this point?
It's like 20 minutes before his set.
Oh, that is stressful.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes before he has to take the stage. And we had a first-time DJ that night that it wasn't his first time DJing. Like, he was a good DJ, but it was his first time DJing with an artist. Because, again, that's another thing. I was shocked. Whenever I pick him up at the airport, it's only him. You at least got to have your DJ, bro.
Yeah.
Like, who else has your music? I don't just have, like, what am I going to look up?
So he had to rip the backup tracks and everything on the fly like that?
Well, he had his thumb. He had his thumb drive with all his instrumentals and his songs and his set list.
Okay.
But he handed it to our DJ. It's like, dude, thank God we had a DJ that night. Otherwise, I would have been on the phone trying to find a DJ. Who wants to DJ for Mike Jones? Well, everybody, but who's good enough, right?
Yeah.
That's the other question. Who can actually do this? And luckily, like, we love this kid to death. And luckily, like, he is a good DJ. Even better now. He's been doing it for so much longer now. But again, like, that was his first time ever DJing for an artist. And it's a different style, It's a different style. And
who was that? Give your boy a shout out.
It was DJ Miracle, actually. DJ Miracle. I actually hit him up today and talked to him for a quick sec. Yeah, he's killing it now. He's all over. He does like a Big Ten roof run, and shit like that. So he's got some other gigs that that we hooked him up with over the years, and he's running with it. So, but it's a different style of DJing. Again, if you're just used to performing by yourself as a DJ, and then all of a sudden you get thrown an artist where you have to work off of him. You literally have to be in the performance. If he says run it back, you got to know, okay, I got to be ready to literally backspin this, hit the track again, like, let's go, let's run it back. If he says certain cues, you have to be ready. You have to be on it. And
That's
And
something that you would have to practice a lot, I imagine.
yeah,
But yeah, just
especially
on the fly with somebody you've never even met before that night. Yeah, that's stressful. Just
that's
thinking about it.
yeah, that's rolling the dice there, Mister Michael Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rolling the dice. Like think about that. He just showed up like, oh, they'll have a DJ. What? 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 What if we didn't, bro? What would have happened?
You better
What if we
find
didn't?
one.
Yeah, right. You would see me up there. So anyway, that was that was a whole other thing. And I mean, Miracle will tell you too. Like he was nervous and he did mess up a couple times. And again, our photographer was on it. He was catching all the moments that night. He caught a moment where you could see Miracle in the back, and Miracle's clearly struggling on the deck. So he's like, ooh. And Mike is facing the camera, and he's just like, he just had that look of like, man, for real, like it's the second time he's messed up. Like, is this really what y'all gave me? But he recovered, and Miracle ended up killing it. So, but yeah, dude, I did not think he was gonna make the stage at all. He was so struggling, and
how was the performance though?
So finally, because I actually had to help him up from the couch. I had to help this man up from the couch. I'm like, yo, bro, like, are you good? Yeah, man, I'm good, man, I'm good. I'm like, bro, are you sure you're good? Like, what do you need other than water and a lot of it, you know? And they're like, no, man, I'm good, you know, maybe a little tequila. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable giving you any more alcohol.
You are cut off, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. But anyway, man, he actually, once he got up on stage and once they overcame, you know, just not having any practice or rehearsal time before, once they overcame that obstacle, he's a pro, you know, he's a pro, and he recovered like a pro. He put on a great performance. He told me in the van ride down that he was going to play all the classics and all the hits. He played all the classics and all the hits. So he put on, I want to say, like a 75-minute set. He had the crowd jumping. I mean, he had everybody, you know, of course, who, Mike Jones, you know. So that was really cool, too, because I was, like, at side stage and just seeing the whole crowd, you know, all those hands up in the air just going nuts. And, you know, and then seeing him, too, because he hadn't performed in a while before we booked him. And, yeah, man, that was a really, really cool moment. But it's also a very nerve-wracking and frightening moment because, like I said, this is the first and only time I ever questioned if an artist that I booked was even going to be able to perform. Because he was so hot.
Man, that's crazy that all worked out at the end of the day, though. So then,
yeah,
what did he end up doing? Did he just fly straight home after that, or what?
That's the thing. So the way he booked his flights, like, we would have had, like, the show was over. We were probably totally wrapped up at, like, I don't know, 2 a.m. or something. His flight to Louisville wasn't until like 8:30 in the morning. So I'm like, well, what do you want me to do, bro? And he's like, you can just take me back to the airport. That's what he said before the show. I'm like, you want me to take you directly back to the airport after the show? Like, you're just gonna wait there? And, oh man, he was just like, yeah, man, like, it's all good. Like, I'll just put my hood up and go to sleep. And I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, well, you got plenty of weed in your system, be able to sleep pretty good. But I don't know. I just can't picture walking in an airport, walking past someone of the caliber of Mike Jones, and he's just sitting there alone sleeping. I would just be like,
knocked out.
I would be like, what's the matter here? Like, what's going on?
Am I being punked right now? Are there hidden cameras? What is going on?
Yeah. So anyway, he ended up coming back to our office, the townhouse, you know, where Eric and Justin lived.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming back. You know, we probably had like 5 or 6 people back there, probably girls, and we just ended up hanging out. Finally, once everything was done, got to smoke with them and hang out with them, which is another kind of it was a bucket list. It's a bucket lister there.
Yeah, go ahead and check that one off for sure.
For sure, like people to smoke with and stuff like that. So that was a big one to check. And yeah, man, we just sit there and swap stories and talked about the rap game and talked about he was interested to see. He was interested to test my knowledge and like if I was really like a real rap fan. And I just I went back to Bone Thugs and Wu-Tang, were the two biggest groups that really influenced me the most when I was growing up to get into hip hop. And he was asking me questions about that, and I was like, hey man, I could talk about this all night, So
man, that's cool.
It was cool. It was cool, So there was, like I said, there was a lot of respect and love there, and we ended up doing a meet and greet too, and that was kind of on the fly, and he was super cool about that too, because that's another way for promoters to make a lot of money. Huge tip here, especially if you're a hip hop promoter. And I saw what happened in Cincinnati at Bogarts with G Herbo, and his was obviously way more than what we had, but we charged I think $30 for the meet and greet, which is cheap for hip hop. But he's an older school artist, and we had only done a few, so we wanted it to go well. I think we ended up having like 50 people buy the meet and greet, and we just split it with him 50-50, cash money.
Let's go.
He left happy, we left happy. Now, G Herbo in Cincinnati, his meet and greet was $100, and he had 60 people buy his meet and greet.
Dang.
Those promoters wrapped up, bro. Because I guarantee you, G Herbo did not walk with all that cash. That was split with the promoters because they organized everything. They made money, and that was after the show. And the show, I think the show did okay. So the show was probably barely profitable, but then they made that money on those meet and greets. It's a really good way to make extra cash.
I hope they all made it while they could, because we ain't in that world no more right now.
I know. Yeah, you're gonna be seeing a lot of these rappers. These younger guys that haven't made it yet. You're gonna be seeing them hit a 9 to 5. So you're gonna be seeing them at Amazon. That's where you're gonna be seeing them.
Hey, I've been there.
Same. It's the worst.
The worst. Oh man.
But yeah. So that's the old Mike Jones story. There's plenty of other funny things that kind of happen in between there. But I will say the way back was so. Okay, this is the last thing I'll say. I just remember this. The way back to the airport was hilarious because it was me, one of our investors that invested in that show, and then and then and then Eric and Mike Jones. So because Eric wanted to ride as we took him back so he could kind of get to know him, and the ride was cool. So we pull over because I think like Mike and then me and I think we all had to use the bathroom, right? So we all use the bathroom, we get back in the van, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's because I was basically running off of no sleep, and also it was just me, the dude that picked him up, and Mike. Whenever we picked him up from the airport, so I didn't think anything of it. So we all get back. We all get in the van. I'm like, all right, we're all in here. All right, good to go. And I start to take off. Dude, we got like 30 minutes down the road. We were almost at the airport, and I forgot Eric.
No, you left him at a gas station?
And he had his phone. He had his phone in the van.
In the van still? Oh, my goodness.
And, bro, whenever – so we're rolling down the road, and Mike was like, hey, Juan. Hey. He's like, hey, man, wasn't your homie with us? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the dude that was sitting back here. And I'm like, oh, shit. Literally just drove straight off and left him. And, dude, the laugh that Mike Jones let out at that moment, the laugh that he let out, because he was laughing throughout the night and stuff, but that laugh, when I was like, oh, damn, I left Eric at the gas station. He was like, ah! I he was rolling, and that made us laugh even more that he got such a kick out of it. So I was like, and what was even more funny is I was like, well, damn, man, like we're right next to the airport. Like I can't jeopardize Mike Jones being late for his flight.
Yeah.
So we had to drop him off at the airport and then circle back. But because he didn't have a phone, he was having to call us on the gas station phone. And the gas station we stopped at was like super hood. And like, he was like, Eric was like, yeah, dude, at first they didn't even want to let me use the phone. Like they thought I was going to run away with the phone. Because it was like a cordless like phone.
Oh.
And I was like,
goodness.
bro, I was like, get the address. I'm like, we're coming back to pick you up. Oh, that was the perfect ending to just a wild overall experience.
You know, I think that's the perfect ending to kind of bring us to a conclusion here today as well. Yeah. Oh man. Just want to say thanks everybody for joining us. You know, let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about. We're gonna bust this bad boy out regularly. You know, just kind of our life stories. You know, we got some music industry. We both are former athletes. So, you know, we're definitely gonna be talking sports. Anything you want to add, Juan?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be a fun time. Definitely, you know, keep tuning in, everybody. We appreciate every view. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You know what to do.
Absolutely.
Also, I'm pumped about our guests. We're gonna have a lot of guests, and that's something I definitely wanted to touch on today. We're gonna have former NFL players, Major League Baseball, WNBA. We're gonna have some people that have been in some films. You know, we're gonna have entrepreneurs on. You know, we're gonna have a pretty interesting and I feel like wide you know, audience and guests. We're gonna have a lot of cool guests. So I'm super pumped for that. Trying to get all
remembered that. All sorts of people
Yeah.
in the music industry. If there's anybody y'all want to
Yes.
see in particular, let us know. We'll reach out to them. You know, what's the worst they could say? No. You know, who cares, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely want to get some artists that I've worked with. Yeah, it would be amazing to get Riff Raff, Dale D'Antoni himself. The neon icon. It would be awesome to get Riff, you know, on here. Yeah, it would be really, really cool. You know, so yeah, we will try to do that. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and just like you said, tell us who you want to see on here. Talk shit, do whatever you want to do. You know, however you want to engage with us. But yeah, I'm pumped. It's gonna be cool. I mean, let's face it, none of you all have anything going on anyway. It's quarantine, okay? Most of you don't have jobs, and we know it, so tune in.
All right, man. We'll see y'all next time.
Laters.